Hey, welcome back to Lamphon's Cocktails. Tonight we're making another Manhattan variation. We're making the Rob Roy. I wanted to make this cocktail tonight because I've kind of drifted away from Scotch in the last couple of years. I used to be really into it, and mainly it was what I drank. I drank a lot of neat Scotch, maybe on the ice when I first started. Later on, I started using Scotch in my old fashions because that's what I liked. And then I got into rye and bourbon and rum. Love rum. But then I kind of left Scotch behind, so I wanted to, kind of get a refresher for myself on it and see how I felt about Scotch, because it's been a little bit neglected lately. And so I wanted to make this nice Scotch-based Manhattan. It was created in 1894 at the Waldorf Astoria in New York for some theater goers. I think there was a play named Rob Roy, or a composer who wrote an opera named Rob Roy. I'm not really sure. Leave me a message in the comments if you know the answer, because I definitely don't. For tonight, we're going to use J&B Rare for our Scotch. We're going to use Antica Formula for our vermouth. And for our bitters, instead of Angostura, we're going to use this nice Bogart's bitters. The Bogart's bitters have recently been recreated based off an old bottle that someone found. They were really popular in Jerry Thomas's main cocktail book that really started this whole cocktail thing off, or really let people know the main recipes for a lot of the famous cocktails. So, here it is. It's pretty great. And I'm going to use it instead of Angostura bitters because I really like it. It's very cardamom forward. I chose the J&B Rare tonight not because it's particularly a great blended Scotch in my opinion, but it was on every one of my relatives' bars back when I was growing up. And so I figured, in homage to that and a little American Psycho,
J&B straight and a Corona,
I would use J&B Rare tonight. This is a stirred cocktail, so let's get our mixing glass and let's build it. We're going to start this out with about 6 dashes of our bitters. 3 if you're using a normal dasher bottle. Pour 1 ounce of our sweet vermouth. 2 ounces of our blended Scotch. We'll just add our ice. We're going to stir that for about 30 to 45 seconds. Really get it chilled down. Or, until you think it's ready. But we're going to serve it up, so it's going to start warming up immediately. The difference between like a bourbon or rye and this Scotch is I can really already smell it just by mixing it, much more so than a rye or a bourbon. All right, we'll go ahead and pour that into our nice chilled coupe. And then we'll garnish with a single cherry. All right, let's try our Rob Roy. This takes a weird direction for me as far as Manhattans go. And I like to make mine with rye, so let's set that out front. But usually in a rye Manhattan or a classic Manhattan, you get that nice spiciness up front, and you get some bitters, and you get some sweetness and body from the sweet vermouth. But in this, really what I get first is that chocolate taste from Scotch. Not all Scotch has this chocolate undertones, but I think this J&B Rare definitely has a strong chocolate undertone. And then you do get on the back some of the bitters from the Bogart's, and then a little bit of that richness and sweetness from the sweet vermouth. It's a good change, but I don't know that it's necessarily my favorite way to have a Manhattan variant, because the Scotch is kind of overpowering the other ingredients. It's kind of surprising because while this is just an 80 proof Scotch, I regularly use bottled and bond bourbons and ryes in my cocktails, and I don't feel like they overpower all the ingredients, even though the proof is much higher. But this is a really great example of a classic Manhattan riff that I wanted to go over because it is a divergent, and for me, it's not one of the ones I want to drink very often or go to very often. If you like a Rob Roy, I'd love to know what your favorite Scotch to use in there is, because I wanted to use something more basic. I didn't want to go grab like a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue or some other really high-end Scotch to do it with. I wanted to use something really, like kind of that people have at home or had at home growing up like I did. So leave a message in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Cheers. Let's have a Rob Roy. Yeah, it's growing on me.